Hey, what's up guys? This is Neal Reyes, and I want to welcome you to today's episode of Champions Minute. Today I want to speak with you about when God stretches you. Again, the topic for today is when God stretches you. You know, we've all been as believers at times or in situations where we know the Lord is stretching us. As a believer, the fact is, if you're going to grow and grow in Christ and His character, then you're going to have moments of stretching. Sometimes those moments can be comfortable, but oftentimes those moments can be uncomfortable. You know, as we grow deeper into the things of the Lord, and as we grow deeper in Him and His character and our understanding of who He is and our relationship with Him, He'll begin to stretch us in greater strides. He'll begin to stretch us and make our strides longer in Him. What I mean by that is when we first get saved, we have some cleaning up to do that He works on with us. But when He's ready to work on growing our faith, He'll begin to do it by stretching us. And oftentimes His stretching comes through leading us into uncomfortable situations. You know, I will tell you that as believers, it's interesting how when we tend to ignore God, it's usually based on when He's speaking to us, His instruction is leading us into something uncomfortable. I'm going to say that again. As believers, we tend to ignore God at times when His instruction leads us into uncomfortable situations. The fact is that stretching is extremely important, but it doesn't always feel that good. You know, if we were to compare that to an example in the natural, I take you to a natural example of stretching. If you do any type of an exercise regimen, or if you play sports or you lift weights or anything like that, you will know, or you should learn, that stretching is extremely important to maintaining a healthy body. It helps to keep you injury-free. But there's a process you have to go through to warm up correctly. Warming up is something that you have to get your muscles warm and active before you can start stretching them to their full potential. And when you stretch muscles to their full potential, sometimes it's actually painful and it's uncomfortable because you're stretching something that's not used to being stretched. But that stretch opens the door for new growth to come in. Oftentimes when God's dealing with us, He'll deal with us in the same ways. I'll share an example with you out of my own life. One of the things that I'm happy to announce that we have finally produced, and I say finally, because God gave me an instruction to take on a new project in 2017. And He had actually given me a target date within 2017 to hit, but I wasn't real confident in the project He had given me, and so I saw myself working on other items instead of being fully obedient to the item He was calling me to work on. Well, as that happened, it wasn't that I was trying to ignore the Lord, but sometimes as believers, when we are getting pulled and stretched into uncomfortable areas, or when we're getting led by Him into areas that we know are uncomfortable for us and will stretch us, sometimes we tend to pull back until we can almost mentally build ourselves up for that. However, that's not the way we're supposed to do it. The fact is, God always has a blessing waiting for us on the other side of our obedience. I heard Terry Savelle Foy say this a while back, and it has always stuck with me. Someone is always waiting on the other side of our obedience. And delayed obedience is the same thing as disobedience. So when God's calling you to do something, be sure to listen. Be sure to lean in and do it. And understand that when God has called us to do something, He will never, ever lead us where His grace cannot sustain us. If He's called you to do something that you don't have the money for, don't sweat it. He wouldn't have called you to do it unless He already had the provision for it. You just have to believe Him for that provision to come in. If He's calling you to do something new that you don't feel you have the talents, skills, or education to do, don't sweat it. He wouldn't be willing to take you in that new area unless he was willing to grow you in the areas you need growth in. You know, God gets just amazing glory when we as his children are obedient, and he's able to do things in the natural through us that make others around us scratch their head and say, wow, I never saw that coming. That brings such glory to our Father. And as believers, we should be excited to be his hands and feet. I want to tell you that the project that God asked me to work on was he had instructed me that he wanted us to create a digital magazine for our ministry. And I will tell you that that was very uncomfortable for me because I had never embarked on any type of project like that before. And even though he had already blessed us with all the software we would need to create it, as the knowledge base and the skill set I felt I was lacking because I didn't know how to do it. I hadn't done that before. So I dragged my feet, and I actually missed my initial target date by about 6 months. And it's not that I was working on it and eventually got to it and got it figured out. I turned around and ignored it altogether. And there were other areas in my life and in our ministry that I was wanting to see some things I was believing for come to pass. And each time I would come back to the Lord and talk to him and say, Lord, how about this? He would turn around and ask me, how's your magazine coming? Okay, Lord. And I'd go away. And time later on, I would be thinking about these other things. And as I was thinking about them and praying about them and believing for them, I would speak to the Lord about it. And he'd ask me again, that's real nice, son, but I've already asked you, how is your magazine coming? And eventually I understood that the breakthrough I was looking for, the answers I was looking for, wouldn't come until I focused on what he asked me to focus on first. I had to finish my project of the magazine. And so we set a new target date to accomplish, and we set a target date of January of 2018 to release our magazine. And I'm excited to share with you that Champions Walk magazine has now been produced and will be made available shortly on our website and links through social media for you to download at no cost. This will be a magazine that will feature articles by myself and others that the Lord has impressed upon me to include in this project. We'll be producing this for right now on his calling. We're going to be doing it every other month. So we're expecting 6 volumes to come out, or 6 editions to come out this coming year in 2018. And we'll maintain that until he tells us to increase it and do it differently. The fact is that since I was obedient to that, and since we were able to accomplish this project, I have seen so many doors already begin to open. Guys, I want to encourage you that if you are seeking answers from God today in an area, and you haven't quite heard the answers you're looking for, go back and reflect if there's something he's already asked you to do. And if he has, I encourage you to be a doer of the word and not just a hearer. Be obedient. Be willing and obedient and ready in season and out, and jump on that project as fast as you can. And if it makes you uncomfortable, and if that project seems bigger than who you are or what you are or the resources you have available, then take peace in knowing that's exactly from God. God will always lead us from glory to glory to glory. Guys, I hope you found this teaching encouraging to you today. As always, we want to remind you to swing by our website where you can connect with us and find all of our teaching resources at nealreyes.com. On that website, you'll find all of our teaching resources available to stream 24 hours a day at no charge to you. And very quickly now, you'll also find our magazine to download for free as well. It's a digital magazine. It can be viewed on any device, whether if it's your computer, your laptop, your tablet, or your smartphone. In addition to that, we want to invite you to connect us on our social media. You can find us on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook page, or on Twitter. If these teachings and this ministry is meaning something to you, then we ask you to like us, subscribe to us, follow us, and share these teachings on your social media feeds as well, so that you can use them to sow as a seed into the lives of the people within your circles, and that you can start to bring the word to them and have meaningful conversations about the Lord with them. Guys, as always, we want to remind you that Jesus is Lord and He loves you, and so do we. Thank you, and have a blessed day. Drop.